And it looks like we are live. Hello, I am Steve Wexler, and joining me today on this sort of pop-up chart chat is my friend and colleague, Andy Cotgreave. And what are we going to
Good
be talking about
morning.
today? Sorry, Andy, I didn't mean to squash your good mornings.
That's fine.
Who made the biggest turd? Where a turd is a truly unfortunate representation of data. That is an acronym that comes from math educator Christopher Danielson. Tip of the hat to you. In any case, we have 5 abominations in terms of communicating with data, as all 5 of these things are incredibly misleading. And we will discuss, well, which one is the most misleading, hence the biggest turd. But I want to share the catalyst for this, which was Andy shared something about something that was produced recently by the Trump White House. And it is this particular visualization, which is showing that American steel is back. And look at this giant increase between 2024 and 2025. I mean, that looks to be more than twice as big. And anyone who looks even somewhat carefully will realize, well, that's incredibly misleading data visualization. And Andy shared some stuff on our Slack channel related with Chart Chat. And well, Andy, I'm just going to pass things over to you. And what did you do and what inspired you to
Alrighty.
do it? As I thought this was just sensational. So
All
take
right.
it away.
Well, let's talk about turds. So, as experts in the field, one of the things we try and do is teach people how to be better data communicators. Right? And the crime that the White House had committed was a truncated y-axis. I'll show. I do a levers slide deck. My levers model, LEVERS, of which S stands for sneaky. Here and right here are my slides. And for a long time, I've used this chart from the UK government treasury. This shows inflation going down. Oh, it looks like inflation's gone down loads, but actually it was a truncated y-axis. Now, in the UK, we have an Office for Statistics Regulation, Steve. And this chart actually triggered a letter from that office to the Treasury saying, don't truncate your y-axis. But this is a classic deceptive technique used by sneaky data practitioners very often. Yeah, so seeing the White House tweet, it's a gift to those of us trying to teach data literacy. Combine that with the great Enrico Bertini. He's marvelous, and he's recently been showing how he's been using Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT to create data viz teaching tools from Gen AI. And I was like, aha, opportunity. And that's where we got to. So I went to Claude, and what you can see here, if I'm magnifying, okay, yeah, I'm magnifying. I gave it this tweet or the chart, and I said, I want an interactive app that teaches about truncated y-axis. And off we go. So then that creates some HTML, and in the nature of the beast, backwards and forwards, we tweak these things, and we end up with this. So, is steel back fixing the White House deception? I can teach people about truncated y-axis by going, well, look, please extend the y-axis to 0. Press that, and now we can see the actual difference is very, very little. And the other thing, Steve, you do this brilliantly well. I probably teach people about this less, and I should do it more, but this is only 2 years worth of data. What's the full, let's see the full data set. So then the next thing we can click is show the full data set, and the rest of the blue charts are the previous 20 years of steel. And you can see that, all right, steel production went up in 2025 compared to 2024, but it's still on a downward trajectory, and that increase on year was tiny. So I've been doing a bunch of these now. It's really quite an engaging process. It's a little hit and miss. It can be frustrating when the fixes don't fix things quite as you want. But could I have written this in HTML JavaScript? Heck no. And for that reason, it's a really great way of doing things. So Enrico's given me an inspiration, and it's good at exploring how to use Gen AI to create a data viz teaching tool.
And it completely inspired me when you showed this and went, well, I do this all the time. Can I do this as well? Andy, I'm going to ask if you could do a little house cleaning for me, because
Yes.
We are streaming primarily to LinkedIn, and I have this set up and I'm not seeing the LinkedIn comments. I'm seeing just the YouTubians that are hanging out watching this, and I'm not exactly sure how to change that so that we can see any of the brilliance that's coming in from people in LinkedIn. If you are posting things, my apologies for not taking it in. I can't see them at the moment.
I don't know how to do that either.
Then we're just going to leave this for now. In any case, so that was Andy's exploration. And I got inspired by this and decided, well, can I do a similar type of thing? So I'll show you mine. Hold on a second. And I had fun kind of jamming with this, which was, all right, here's the misleading version of this. And it called out a whole bunch of different things. It put this title in, how y-axes lie, the same data, two very different stories. And I can toggle back and forth between the honest depiction and the misleading one. I asked if it could make something that would go back and forth between a dark background and a light background. And I was having fun with this. But I realized this is not usually how I show the breaking, the truncating of the value axis in fraction. Here is something that I saw many years ago that Randy Crum put together, and I really liked it. So he does it in Keynote. Let me get it happening.
You like that chart, Steve?
No, I don't like this chart. I like how thank you. I liked how he showed what was messed up about it.
Okay, all right.
Oh, so we can see what they showed us and what they didn't show us. And I thought that was a very effective way of doing this. And so I just took a little video of it, as I don't have Keynote. So thanks for the clarification, Andy. And well, I decided I wanted to do something similar with this other chestnut of a misleading data visualization. And I showed Claude a video of how I show this in my workshops and my classes. So I riffed on what Randy Crum put together and had this.
What are we looking at here, Steve? Is this PowerPoint, or is this the PowerPoint you showed to Claude, or what's this?
Is the PowerPoint that I showed to Claude. So I created this in PowerPoint, and we'll just go back for a second and show that.
Yeah, sorry, I ruined the drama.
So I showed it a video of what I had created in PowerPoint.
Okay,
and
that's really cool.
And it was hard to make.
Yeah.
So, and I asked Claude, could you do this for me? So the first thing it did was this. So it's making this as interactive HTML, and I'll click this. And by the way, this annotation layer, let me just do the hide on this thing, looks like it's around only 32% of goal is reached over here. Now, reveal what's hidden. But this is not how I will present this type of stuff. I will usually want this in a PowerPoint presentation as opposed to this HTML. So I asked Claude, would you please make this 2 PowerPoint slides that will morph from one to the other? And let me show you what it came up with. So here is the first slide.
So we're in PowerPoint. What?
We are in PowerPoint. That is PowerPoint. And by the way, the reason I love it in PowerPoint, it's, I want to move this thing a little bit. I want to make this a little, I've got it in the tool that I know how to
Yeah.
wield. And at one point, the morph wasn't working. I'm going to show some other examples of this. And it told me why the morph wasn't working, that the two things that you're morphing have to have the same object name. Oh, I would often wonder, why isn't this thing going from this to a that? And it's maybe I can, turn um, a frog into a prince or opposite if they both have the same object name. So I'm looking forward to exploring that. But let's look at some other turds that are out there. This comes from um, Premier or Prime Minister Viktor Orbán of Hungary, and what he is touting, if those of you who do not speak Hungarian fluently, is an increase of jobs going from 3.6 million in 2010 to 4.7 million in 2022. And that looks to be like it's more than doubled. So let me do the same thing with it. So I copy and pasted this chart into Claude and asked it to do a similar treatment. And the first was building this interactive HTML. What Orbán's chart didn't show. So it's going from 3.6 million to 4.7 million. And now reveal what's actually there. But I don't want to have it this way. I want to be presenting with my tool of choice, PowerPoint. So could it create two slides that I could morph? So now I am in PowerPoint with this lovely annotation layer that's there. And here's the morph that's going on. Well, let's keep going. Is this is clearly a turd. Is it a big turd? Yes. Is it the biggest turd? Don't know.
We're getting LinkedIn love. Wesley is loving this, she says.
I don't know if it's. Oh, we are getting some LinkedIn love. Outstanding.
We are.
Thank you.
That came from LinkedIn. That came from LinkedIn. So
excellent. I'm glad we're able to see these things. And well, here is from the Biden White House. Now, this looks, we look at the value axes here, and we can see it looks like it's more than doubled. I will give them, a little bit of okay. You did something right. It is a 14% increase, but the bars are extremely misleading. Let's see this again. Here it is as interactive HTML, and it looks like it's 2.7 times as much, but in fact, it is only a 14% increase. And can it make some PowerPoint slides for me? And the answer is yes, although at this point I am running out of tokens and I actually had to pay more than my monthly subscription fee to get this happening.
Oh, really?
But the interactive environment, Andy, was really delightful. I would tell it what I wanted, it would generate the code, and then in a side-by-side window, it would show me what it had made. So here it is in PowerPoint. Andy, go ahead, please.
No, sorry, Steve. But so, I don't know why, but I'm more astounded it can build this in PowerPoint than I am that it can write the code to do that. And I don't know why that is, because the code it writes is, for the ones I've done, I've done more experiments than we've just looked at here. It's writing code, but the ability to do the morph correctly is really powerful, because I guess maybe it's because I use morphs all the time to present data, and I've built the equivalent, as we looked at the deck I shared earlier, that has morphs in it to show that animation. But this is better than I can build. And that's exciting and terrifying.
Amy, great question. I think a third chart should be, I should create a third chart. The misleading chart, the morphing to the correct one, and then showing them side by side. I think that would be a great thing to do. So that one's easy to do in PowerPoint with just copying and pasting. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I have in the slides I have an equivalent of that, Amy. So here's the original. Here's truncated. Here's not truncated, but here is a version that if you want to truncate a y-axis, it is okay to use a line chart. right? Truncation of a y-axis isn't the crime. Truncation of a y-axis with bars is the problem, because when we interpret the lines, our brain is thinking more in terms of relative change, whereas here we are looking at the length of the bar as representing the value of the bar. So yeah, so these slides here, and I'm not showing this, I'm showing the PowerPoint here, but you know that they all build up in a morph animation to do similar work to what Steve was just showing.
Well, let's go to, I think this is, I've done 4 turds at this point. Here is the 5th turd. And this comes, I think, from 2021. This is then Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, and is pointing out how violent crime has increased tremendously. It's up 7.5%. Well, that looks like a much bigger, and this gets into Andy's notion of looking at more than just 2 years worth, or cherry picking your start date and then comparing it with another date. So I'm aware of what I'm trying to show. Let me see the interactive HTML with this. Oops, sorry. I ended up clicking someplace.
Now, Steve,
yeah.
To what extent are you prompting for the opinionated title? So what the truncated chart didn't show, and the little annotation in the bottom right that
I didn't say anything, Andy. I did not say. A couple of the titles I changed, but here, New York City major felony offenses, what the truncated chart didn't show. It read the other chart. It decided to make this. I didn't give it guidance on what typeface to use in this case, because it's just I didn't care that much about that.
Yeah.
There were, by the way, I had to do plenty of prompting. No, that's not right. No, that's not how the morph works. No, you need to leave it this way and not that way. So it wasn't just, oh, I'll just click something. It got plenty of stuff wrong, and I'm not going to. I may share the miles long back and forth discussion with it, but once it got kind of what I was looking for, I didn't have to refeed it the stuff. So let's reveal all the stuff that's hidden. Like this is a very different example that's here because the values are so close. And it's interesting. This is what it came up with. And I got tired of saying, no, don't have it expand. Don't make the bars get all thinner and things like that. Because I knew ultimately I was more interested in the PowerPoint that it would produce. So this is what it came up with, including this. And this is what it would morph into. And Amy, I would probably now have show the misleading version and the accurate version or honest version side by side. Let me just explore this example. So that's Brad Lander, who's the New York City controller at the time, responsible for finance. And I checked with the statisticians here in the controller's office, and that's the largest 7.5% that we've ever seen. And what he's pointing out is it went from 95,000 to 103,000 roughly. And people were saying, well, it should look like this. Yeah. And our dear friend Ben Jones at Data Literacy said, well, were they intentionally trying to mislead? Or is it the fact that if you put this data into Excel, it will render it like this by default? And Andy, were you as surprised as I was to learn about the 5/6 rule in Excel?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. You know, there's a chapter of this in Dashboards That Deliver that Jeff wrote about the defaults. It's like Excel will truncate a y-axis according to the shape of the data, which is really bad.
and we'll do it with a bar chart. So he said if the lowest value and is within 5/6 of the highest value, Excel thinks it's doing you a favor and will truncate the axes like this. Who knows when that got hard coded into the tool? You know what? 1997 or something like that. But if you don't know better, which is a huge part of success with these things, you have to know what you're doing to get Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini to do your bidding. You have to know what good looks like. Really, I could have, in doing the morphing and saying I want to show what is honest and what's misleading, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted. I knew how to cajole and guide.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are abdicating responsibility, and you will get crap like this with AI, just as you'll get crap like this with Excel. So, some great discussions went on, by the way, Andy. They're echoing what you did with looking at the steel production. And in fact, from 20 years earlier, it's way lower. And
Yeah. So actually, Steve, can I pause? Can I pause you there? Right. So going back to Amy's question, I'll just put that back on. Right. So what? And I saw something similar with the White House tweet. Was that red box is actually, it is showing you the original chart. The red box is the original chart, right? And I might not be quite what you're getting at, Amy, but certainly some of the responses to the White House tweet really had that little box and really emphasized that the box is what the White House tweeted. Here's the reality of the story. And I thought when really framed to focus on that, I think that's a very clever way of doing it. Might not be quite what you mean there,
but this is some of the things that we I've discussed a lot, and Jacob Rosenman has this wonderful way of doing a slope graph and the intermediate values as well, which is if you just show two values, you're missing the context. So this again is from Ben Jones at dataliteracy.com, and I love people jamming on this stuff because my favorite data visualization hobbyist is Daniel Zvinka, and he suggested doing an inset chart. And I know that Nick DeBarra is also a big fan of these things. So see it in the entire context and allow us to focus on it here. So let's get back to the catalyst T.U.R.D. Wonder if those two words have ever been placed together before. And using Randy Crum's technique, I wanted to see, well, what could I do with this? So let's have a look. And this is the misleading and reveal what's hidden. That's not how I would do it, but that's actually pretty effective of just showing this. We'll go back to the original version. And this, and I just didn't, this is where, we've got a problem here. And I'm not going to bother to waste tokens asking it to fix this because I know ultimately where I'd like to see it is in PowerPoint. So now we are in PowerPoint, and love I didn't ask it to do this.
Oh, so nice.
That's really good, and I'm so glad I didn't have to craft it.
So can you now save that as a skill in Claude? So could you feed it any truncated y-axis bar chart and say, I want the HTML and the PowerPoint output based on what we've done before?
I do not know. Probably that because certainly it got my trusty assistant and willing neophyte or intern or companion had a better idea of what to do and how to do it. Andy, why don't you explain the Claude skills?
Well, yeah, I haven't created one. I mean, I know of them, but I believe this is where you can do it, right? So these are, you can create reusable assets and techniques. If you when you use Claude right now, let's just do a new chat and ask it to build me a website. You should notice. I don't know if this works on the web. Hang on. Build a website for me. Right. You should see it's going to load skills. Okay. Well, clearly that's not a very good prompt, but it loads skills. But you can create your own skills as well, and it might be that this could be a saved skill. But obviously, I can't show you on that.
And the given given I'll probably do this at some other point. There'll be some turd. I'm going to want to reveal what is turdly about it, or its turdaciousness. I will want to use Randy's animated or morphing technique, which will show here's what they showed us, here's what they didn't show us in context. I think that's pretty potent. So rather than have to go through this whole thing again or spend more tokens than I would like to, that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
So Andy, my question for you, of these 5, which do you think is the biggest turd?
Well, they all commit exactly the same crime. So in many ways, they are all equally terrible things. I will say one administration is wrecking democracy and society more than others, with more egregious and blatant, in a more blatant way. And so I will say that one is the biggest turd.
I hear. So we are in agreement. Congratulations.
I hedged my bets there, Steve. I tried to sort of say something political without actually saying who I meant. But yes, you're right. It's that one.
Yeah, I mean, it was an increase of 1.2%, and this looks to be more than twice as large. So congratulations to the current administration. As someone who just revels in superlatives, yes, you made the biggest turd, where a turd is a truly unfortunate representation of data. Congratulations. I hope you're proud. Well,
what's the opposite of a turd, Steve?
Is
it a I'm going to leave you with that. Or viewers, what would the acronym be for these? What is opposite of a turd? And
what a wonderful idea, which is it's so much more fun to deride things than prop them up. No, there must be a beautifully fashioned information gem or something like that. We will come up with something, and recognize, for it to be an acronym, folks, it has to be a pronounceable word. FBI is an initialism. It is not an acronym. TURD, a pronounceable word, is an acronym. So when they say 3 TLAs, TLA is not an acronym. It is an initialism.
Hey everybody, having written 2 books with Steve and done 68 chats with him, that's a little factoid he's
I was going to say
very many times.
Andy, I was also going to say, and now you can imagine how much fun it must be to collaborate with me. So
it's
Andy, thank you so much. You have an incredibly busy schedule. Appreciate you making the time, and also for sharing how you were using AI to teach people data visualization principles. Let's extend the thank you to Enrico Bertini, as I now have something in my arsenal that I think is really good. So folks who joined us, thanks so much. Chart Chat is next Wednesday at 11 o'clock Eastern. I don't have a link here, but you can just go to chartchat.live, and hope you join us. And with that, with 1 minute to spare, thank you all.
Bye, everybody.